The moon in Majora's Mask is not just scenery. It is a presence. It hangs over Clocktown like a thought you cannot turn off. It does not stay in the background. It grows. It gets closer. It crowds the sky. Most of us look up at that red-eyed face and assume the simplest reading. The moon is evil. The moon wants destruction. The moon is the monster. But I do not think the moon is the monster. I think the moon is a message. And to understand that message, you have to start with Majora's Mask. The Happy Mask salesman calls it an ancient and powerful artifact, once used by an ancient tribe in bewitching rituals. He says its wicked power became so great that it was sealed away to prevent catastrophe. And then he admits something worse. The tribe vanished, and no one truly knows what the mask power really is. That matters, because the mask is not just an object with power. It is a force that enslaves its user. For most of the game, Skull Kid wears it. He stands atop the clock tower like a child acting out a prank. But the line breaks, mischief turns into cruelty. The mask takes the animosity already inside him and sharpens it into a weapon. And then the entire world becomes a schedule. 3 days, 72 hours. Link's mission is simple. Find the 4 giants and free them from the temples across Termina. Call them back to stop the moon from falling. Because if you fail, the moon crashes into Termina and the world ends. Not as a metaphor, as a literal game over. So yes, the moon can be seen as the threat. And then the moon does something that doesn't fit the narrative. It cries. In Majora's Mask, you can collect a moon tear, a shard of lunar stone that falls from the sky. The name is not subtle. A tear implies grief. It implies sorrow. It implies that something is being lost. So the question shifts. Why would a purely malicious destroyer shed a tear? And once you ask that, the face changes. At first glance, it looks like a grin, like the moon is enjoying the fear. But look longer, the mouth is tense. The cheeks are stretched. The eyes are wide in a way that does not read like joy. It reads like strain. What if that is not a smile, but a grimace? To me, that is the face of something being pulled against its will. I think the moon is crying because it is being forced to destroy what it is meant to protect. And there are small details in Termina that makes this reading feel less like wishful thinking and more like something the game invites. People talk like the moon is familiar. The jugglers in Gorman Troop mention that the Carnival of Time happens once in a blue moon, and that this time is a really scary red-eyed moon. That line implies that the look is not the default. The citizens of Clocktown do not treat it like an alien thing. They call it the moon, like a face moon belongs in their world. And then there's the mayor's office. On the back of the mayor's chair, you can see a mask that starkly resembles the moon. Same round face, same exaggerated features, and the expression is different. It looks happier, almost gentle. That matters, because if the moon's face predates the crisis, then the face is not the villain. The change in the expression is the story. In other words, the horror is not a monster arriving. It is something familiar being twisted. That is why the moon works. It is a symbol that should be distant and consistent, a quiet piece of the night. But in this game, it is close. It is watching. It is wrong. And that wrongness is not just visual, it is mechanical. The entire game is built to make you feel it. People repeat their routines, tragedies replay, fear becomes a habit, and the moon keeps getting bigger. The moon becomes a symbol of inevitability and also responsibility. Because Majora's Mask does not let you pretend you did not see it, you can hear the clock. You can watch the sky turn into a deadline. The moon becomes your pressure, not just to survive, but to act. And the more I think about it, the scariest thing about the moon is not that it hates Termina. It's that it might not. Majora's Mask enslaves Skull Kid, and the moon becomes the tool to end everything. And suddenly, that tear makes sense. The moon in Majora's Mask is poetry because it compresses a whole emotional arc into one image. Inevitability, resistance, and mourning staring at you the whole time. It says everything without speaking, and it dares you to decide what you believe about intention and what you can do about it before we all run out of time.